Now, this striking creature, we believe, is from the classic Pueblo period. In fact, we believe most or all of our flute player images here at the Wells Preserve are from the Pueblo classic period, which began about AD 1300, maybe 1350, and then continued through the time of contact. Of course, the figure is holding a flute, and that's the most obvious feature. And we do believe that this general area is very acoustically significant, that there are echoes that have very interesting effects, and that might be a part of why people were using the space, including, but not limited to, making petroglyphs here. We also have an interesting instance of visual punning. If you look at the shape of the body of the flute player, and then this possible bird figure above it may have a quail top knot. And you'll notice that the bird figure kind of mimics the shape of the flute player. But there's something even more interesting going on, because see the shadow coming down from above the flute player. Well, at the equinox, twice a year, that shadow will take the shape of the breaks in the rock above it, which will create a curve and then a straight line, and it will, right around midday, line up perfectly with the arc of the tail and the edge of the back. So we believe this to be an equinox marker, and it is noteworthy that the Pueblos that are here today are known to have in the past celebrated the equinox, which is not always the case for all Pueblos. So this is a very special rock.
And then we have others. For example, we have several that we know of, and I'm sure there are more that we don't know of, images that are either solstice or equinox markers. For example, we have a fabulous winter solstice marker that is a big spiral, and on the 21st of December at dawn there's a little bump on the rock that makes a point of light go right to the center of that spiral, and to watch it happen makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. It's the most exciting thing.
Now, we're in a place that we call Flute Player Hollow, which has earned its name. But even within Flute Player Hollow, we're in a rather special room. To begin with, right in front of me, is a very unique shield bearer. We call it a shield bearer because we have the shield design and indications of the person who is carrying it. The arms simply aren't rendered, but we do see the legs and the head. But what makes this one unique is the design on the shield itself. This is the only place on the mesa where we see this particular design. So it's very distinctive. And we believe that shield designs, much as you might see in dances today, could be very individual expressions. So the intricate panel in front of you is a great example of what we call superimposition, or you might have heard the term palimpsests. When we say superimposition or palimpsests, we simply mean the layering of images one on top of the other on top of the other. And we have a lot of that going on here. One of the scenes that is clear, however, contains a human figure wearing a bighorn sheep headdress. We believe this to be some kind of dancer, and this person may have been rendered in a scene of a procession as one of the layers in that palimpsest. Now I'm going to direct your attention over to here. You've got a shield design with a horizontal line dividing it, giving it kind of a ladybug shape. And next to that is a flute player. this isn't the only flute player in this room. There's another one directly behind me. Flute Player Hollow actually earns its name quite well. There are several in a rather small area, but this room in particular, these flute players indicate something special about this space. My voice is actually reverberating right now. This is a reverberating space. So if someone's to come in here with a musical instrument or to sing, to perform any kind of music, it's going to reverberate and potentially resonate with particular tones arising out of those echoes, like an accompaniment coming out of the rock.
One of the most exciting categories here is we have lots and lots of flute players, but we also have, more than any place else we know of, animals playing flutes. And some of them are the most charming things you ever saw, and we have no idea why there are so many of them here, but we're glad they are. We love them. And we have different kinds of animals playing flutes. There are some that look like humans, except they have tails, and so we count them as animals. We have 4 or 5 that are quadrupeds. They have 4 legs, playing flutes. And then we have some that are shaped like insects that we call ant-bodied flute players. Weirdest one of all, the most wonderful one of all in many ways, is we have one that looks like an armadillo playing a flute. And he's a very rare and wonderful creature. And he has little round feet, and he's just piping away, and we love it, and we have no idea why he's there, but there he is.
So behind me is a panel from the Archaic period, and we believe these to be from the early Archaic, based on the amount of repatination and the style in which they're rendered. These abstract designs can be explained by a couple of different theoretical models. One of the leading theories is what we call the neuropsychology model. The neuropsychology model simply states that these abstract designs are attempts at representing a person's own experiences when they're in, say, an altered state, such as in a trance or having a religious experience. Within those, there are what we call entopic forms, which simply means images derived from the eye or behind the eye. And then there's a specific type of entopic form called a phosphene, sort of flashes. You can experience phosphenes yourself by simply lightly pressing on your eyes, waiting a moment, and then you begin to see patterns. Other types of phosphenes include flashes and fractal patterns. And that's kind of what we see largely in the Desert Archaic tradition. So one of the leading theories is that people are representing some aspect of their religious experiences in these. This is only one theoretical model for explaining these. When we get to the late Archaic, we start to see the incorporation of some of these designs into what we call figurative or iconic images, footprints, sheep, people. When we look at the late Archaic, and in neighboring regions, we see some of these designs incorporated into the bodies of human figures or into the bodies of bighorn sheep. We have an important clue that this model, this theory that we call the neuropsychology model, is probably consistent because it shows the transition from the initial religious experience and the representations of that through people making meaning out of that and placing it into their own worlds, into things that they can recognize, and gives us a transition thus from the archaic to the cultures that came afterwards, such as the ancestral Pueblo.